Good morning and welcome. You are watching Market Cafe on ET Now. I'm Nupur and joining me on the show is Merrill. Over the next half hour, we take you through what's making news in the global markets, and we'll also be tracking how that could impact the markets back home in India. We begin with a look at how the US markets have performed. Well, the US stock futures, of course, are hedging higher after posting a modest rebound in the previous session. Now, a sharp decline in treasury yields has helped improve investor sentiments in regular trading that ended last night. Now, the Dow and the S&P 500 have risen nearly 0.2%, while the Nasdaq Composite has advanced about 0.1%, with all three benchmarks snapping a three-day losing streak. Now, the consumer discretionary materials and consumer staples sector outperformed the broader market, while the industrial, technology and financial stocks seem to have lagged. Yields on longer dated US Treasury have pulled back from multi-year highs after the government announced plans to hold more than double repurchases of the 10, 20 and 30-year debt over the coming months. Now, this move, of course, comes after the 30-year yield surged to its highest level since 2007 earlier this week. Now, investors, of course, today will be turning their attention to the retail giant Walmart's earnings, which are due later.
That's right. All of this meanwhile, oil prices appeared to see as mixed as ever. Brent crude held steady above that $91 per barrel level, while WTI intermediate, that's the WTI crude, also was little changed, still near that $85 mark. Asian equities, however, seem to mirror the gains seen in the US equity markets. This is, of course, from the easing pressure from the bond market, especially from the longer duration end of bonds. South Korean shares led the region higher. The Kospi surged up to 3.5% intraday, while Japan's Nikkei 225 added almost 1% to their gains. Topics also gained almost 0.8%. Hang Seng futures pointed to a 0.9% rise, while the South Korean chip maker SK Hynix seemed to have driven most of the region's gains, with its shares jumping almost upwards of 5% in early trading. The company said that it would be buying back 40 trillion yuan, that's about $29 billion worth of shares, and step up returns to its shareholders, which is why we're seeing that sort of momentum in trade today. All three Asian indexes firmly in the green. So that's the rundown on the oil prices and also on the Asian markets. But Nupur, take us through Trump and Iran then.
All right, moving on now to what is actually causing this dip in sentiment. Now, the US President Donald Trump has announced what he calls the most crushing economic operation ever against Iran. Trump says Washington will target oil smuggling, currency swaps, cash transfers, exchange house ship registries and front companies. He's also warned that countries helping Iran evade sanctions of severe economic consequences. The escalation comes as oil prices extended their gains. Trump is urging US allies to join the campaign to isolate Iran economically. Listen in to what Donald Trump said earlier.
We have very draconian sanctions, and we'll see what happens. Right now, the strait is open. A lot of boats are coming through. People aren't reporting that, and that may slow down a little bit at some point. But right now, a lot of boats are coming through. The naval blockade has been extremely effective. Zero, I mean, literally, while it's up, and that's been for quite a while, you know, except for a couple of little pauses where we opened it purposely with a deal. But the deal didn't terminate. You know, the deal didn't turn out to be what they said. You know, when they tell us one thing and they do another. But the blockade has been 100% successful. No boats have gotten into Iran, but they are getting in for other places. But we'll see. We're going to see what happens.
And further in geopolitical developments, Trump has also said that he has delayed the planned 50% across-the-board tariff on Canada by up to 3 days after a request coming in from Ottawa. Trump has said that US is considering lowering tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium while seeking zero tariffs for American farmers. He's also said that the two sides have a good relationship and will continue to use the pause to iron out all of the details. Let's listen into that bite.
Well, we're getting zero for our farmers. You know, farmers have been hurt very badly by Canada, and they won't be paying any tariffs anymore. And we may bring some of the tariffs down to a level where other countries are, because Canada was paying a higher tariff. Canada was paying us a higher tariff. So we have a very nice relationship with leadership right now, and we'll see. But we did a 3-day pause. It was supposed to be a 50% straight across the board tariff that was going into effect at 7 o'clock this morning. And I delayed it at the request of Canada for 3 days so we can iron out the details. But it's going to be a wonderful deal, hopefully a wonderful deal for everybody.
And the U.S. government debt has crossed the $40 trillion mark for the first time, more than doubling in less than a decade. The Treasury reported a $432 billion deficit in July, while interest costs have climbed to around $1.2 trillion this year. The milestone comes as borrowing costs surged, with the 30-year Treasury yield recently hitting a 19-year high. In response, the Treasury will double buybacks of longer-dated debts to at least $4 billion per operation, sending bond yields sharply lower.
And minutes of the Federal Reserve's June meeting shows several officials favored a rate hike, while many said that tightening could be needed if inflation fails to decline. Most supported keeping rates unchanged, with the Fed citing highly uncertain inflation risks and also the impact of the West Asian war. Since the meeting then, weaker retail sales, subdued core inflation and also softer jobs data have all reduced the expectations of a rate hike coming in September next.
And Donald Trump, of course, has also renewed his attacks on the Federal Reserve, saying the U.S. interest rates are artificially high and should be much lower. Trump said that the U.S. should pay less than the current 3.5 policy rate, arguing that a strong economy should mean lower borrowing costs. His comments came after the Fed minutes showed how many officials, of course, had supported that rate hike if inflation does remain elevated. Now, he's also said that he sees no threat from the bond market volatility despite rising Treasury yields and the government's growing debt burden.
Our country is doing so well despite interest rates. We have interest rates that are they're actually artificially high. They raise them for no reason. And you can't go out to the market when you have a Fed that's raising interest. You can't say, I want to pay 3 points less than what the Fed says you're supposed to be paying. So, no, I don't think so at all. I think we have a very powerful country, and we're powering through these ridiculous interest rates. They're ridiculous. Look, when our country is strong, interest rates should go down. When our country is weak, frankly, they should go up. But this country is strong. There's never been in history the kind of money coming into a country as we have right now. Trillions and trillions of dollars are being invested in plants, factories, everything. Everything you can think of. We're the hottest country in the world.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Japan's exports jumped about 23% in July, beating expectations and marking the 5th straight month of acceleration. Semiconductor equipment shipments surged up to 49%, with AI demand continuing to drive this chip-related trade. Exports to China also rose about 26%, while shipments to the US climbed 22%. However, the exports value gains were partly driven by a weaker yen and also higher prices, with volumes rising just 5.2%. Imports also jumped about 27 to 28%, boosted by a sharp rise in petroleum costs.
And India is looking to further deepen its economic partnership with Singapore, with the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman leading a ministerial delegation for the 4th India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable. The External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and MOS Electronics and IT Jitin Prasada are also part of the delegation. The talks will now focus on 6 key areas, including advancing manufacturing, connectivity, digitalization, healthcare, skill development and sustainability.
That was all of the geopolitical updates, but let's switch focus back home. And rainfall gains pace across India, with India's cumulative monsoon deficit still at 13%. Heavy rainfall is expected across Chhattisgarh, West Uttar Pradesh, and we've got Akanksha on board actually with all of those details.
That's right. The overall rainfall activity of the country remains broadly same with no major change in the monsoon situation. Now, if we take a look at the forecast released by IMD, so heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely at isolated places over Chhattisgarh, East Madhya Pradesh and West Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, heavy rainfall is also expected over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, northeast states of India, Sub-Himalaya, West Bengal and Sikkim and Uttarakhand as well. Now coming to Mumbai, so the city's reserves continue to remain under comfortable levels. As of 19 August, Mumbai 7 reservoir stands at 94.15% of the total live storage capacity. Now if we take a look at the latest rainfall deficit numbers released by IMD, so Northeast India continues to report the highest deficit at 25%. Northwest India is at 10%, while Central India remains 1% below normal. The South Peninsula continues to remain at a deficit of 22%. So overall, India's cumulative rainfall deficit number now stands at 13% as of 19th August, which remains unchanged.
All right, and on that note, we slip into a very short break, but Meryl and I will be right here, so do join us after that commercial. Thank you for staying with us on Market Cafe, and we now turn our attention to the Sensex gas manipulation case. Sebi has acted against Copthall, Mauritius and Mansi share and stockbroking over alleged Sensex cash manipulation. The Sebi has barred both entities from participating in equity cash until further orders, and a detailed probe is currently underway. Sajid is joining us with the details on that. So hi Sajid, tell us more about this case and also the Sebi's action that has followed.
Market regulator Sebi has passed an interim order with respect to alleged manipulation in the closing auction session. As part of the order, the Sebi has barred two entities, Copthall Mauritius, which is a foreign entity, and Mansi Share and Broker, which is a domestic entity, from participating in the securities market. The regulator says that Copthall placed aggressive buy orders to push Sensex during the cash session, especially on the expiry day, while Copthall accounted for nearly 99% of the total buy orders value during the first Sensex spike. The regulator found that on August 13, there were three Sensex spikes that happened that eventually led to Sensex rising against the normal market direction. It also said that a domestic entity, Mansi Share and Broker, had placed aggressive sell orders in 8 Sensex scripts to push index lower, and thereafter it withdrew or cancelled all the orders, thereby leading to a spike coming into the Sensex there. The regulator says that both the entities have made an unlawful gain of over 3.7 crores, of which Copthall made an unlawful gain of 2.96 crores, while Mansi Share Brokers made an unlawful gain of nearly 71.65 crores there. Both the order has come into immediate effect, and both the entities have been barred from participating either in the cash or the securities market. Now, this raises a very important question which everyone is talking about in the market, especially with respect to the kind of liquidity which is there in cash. The Indian market has a lot of liquidity which comes in from prop trading and retail investors, and the absence of these two big classes of investors in the cash session, especially the closing auction session, basically puts the entire question mark on the efficacy of cash going forward. There has been already data which has come in that roughly around 900 to 1000 crores on an average is the kind of turnover which happens in the last 15 minutes, which is the closing auction session on the NSE. On the BSE, it's even more lower, and lower volume and turnover basically means that there is high probability of manipulation, because a small order size can easily push up the prices of stocks, as a result of which the index can go in either in the upper direction or in the lower direction, depending upon the kind of orders which have come in. So it's now Sebi may have to look at review the entire closing auction session framework, so as to bring in more liquidity if it wants cash to go forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sajid, for taking us through that. But staying with that issue, Sebi Chairman Tuhin Kanta Pandey has also said that the regulator, Sebi, will be releasing a more granulated study on the decline in F&O traders likely tomorrow. He also allayed concerns over the closing auction session, saying that it will bring in more transparency and anyone who considers manipulating the market will be charged. Let's listen to that bite as well.
F&O trader. So how do you see that drop of 20 lakhs? And recently FM also in Pune said that after the measures taken up in a budget announcement, we will seek new data from Sebi. So have you shared that data to the finance ministry?
I think the finance ministry, the reply already indicates the crux of the thing, but the greater granularity of the study will be likely will release the study tomorrow. Manipulation करते हैं तो हम उसमें कड़ी कार्रवाई करेंगे और तुरंत करेंगे और कैश सिस्टम में मैनिपुलेशन पकड़ने के आसान मतलब जो हमारा वो है वो ज़्यादा अधिक है हमारी कैपेबिलिटी पुराने वीवैप सिस्टम से की अपेक्षा जो कैश सिस्टम में हम रिलेटिवली इजीली मैनिपुलेशन को पकड़ सकते हैं तो इसलिए ये आपको ये देना होगा कैश ट्रांसपेरेंसी के लिए है और वो लेकिन यदि कोई ये समझ रहे हैं कि हम उसका कैश को नाम बदनाम करने के लिए मैनिपुलेट कर लेंगे तो वो बहुत ही धोखे में होंगे
Sir, you just said that tomorrow you will be coming up with the data on the F&O trading. So that data will be of FY26 only, which is shared in the parliament also,
yes.
Or the H1 of FY26 because FM has said that
it will be 25-26 data. लेकिन वो that will give you a greater granularity on what is happening, how is the retail happening, how is the non-retail happening, and we will have the detailed reports. The idea of this report is to be number one consistent. We have been releasing these data, and so therefore but the analysis this time will be more granular and will be more this thing to people for to comment. So the market segment has different category of players and how is that happening, particularly from the retail point of view, but not necessarily only retail.
All right, and moving on to the RBI's latest MPC minutes, they do signal a shift from easing towards possible tightening, with several members flagging the risk of higher food and fuel prices feeding into broader inflation. The Governor, Sanjay Malhotra, has said that a recalibration of the policy rate could be warranted if inflation remains elevated, while the Deputy Governor, Poonam Gupta, has said that a rate hike could emerge during the year. All 6 members, however, voted to keep the repo rate at 5.25% and retain the neutral stance.
Let's switch focus then and look at the markets and how they are supposed to open up. We've got Rabinder on board to take us through a few stocks which are expected to be in focus today. Rabinder?
Well, as on the back of order win, Seagull India can be in focus, and our company has announced that they have received 5 LOA worth of rupees 2,423 crore in the last 2 days, taking its Q2 total order inflow rupees 3,129 crore, including LOAs and L1 orders. And the latest is 274 crore order LOA for package 2 of the bile making section awarded to its JV with Rajendra Infrastructure, and with this the company's book to bill ratio stand at 4.5 times. Moving to EMS, EMS Limited has also emerged as a L1 bidder for approximately 191 crore water treatment project in Kota, and the project includes a 100 MLD water treatment plant along with the pipelines, distribution system and reservoirs. Next up, IndiCube Space Solution 2 can be in focus, where the company has secured 1,300 seat workspace deal in Bangalore valued at 68 crore with the leading global audio series platform, and the company has a annual seat addition guidance of between 33,000 to 44,000 in FY27. Moving to Gravita India, the company is setting up a copper recycling plant at Mudra with a plant capacity of 59,200 tons per annum and with the capex of rupees 64 crore. And lastly, 3i Infotech 2 can be in focus, where the police inquiry in the company's 128 crore plus fraud complaint has been concluded. That matters appears to be in civil in nature, and the company is now seeking legal opinion on the next steps, while the actual financial impact remain uncertain. So back of this, 3i Infotech can be in focus.
Thank you, Rabinder, for taking us through that. In fact, we also saw a bunch of block deals play out in yesterday's trade, and we have fresh data coming in on that, which could also lead to these stocks also being in focus today. Starting first with Aster DM Healthcare, we saw a block deal worth around 400 and 450 crores play out, where promoter entity Centella Mauritius Holdings sold its holding. Now we have fresh data on who picked up these shares, and on the buying side, these names include Citigroup Global Markets Singapore, HDFC Mutual Fund, Integrated Core Strategies Asia, and Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund. So quite a good set of institutional interest that we've seen in Aster DM's health share as well. Beharilal Engineering, which listed on the exchanges yesterday, quite a blockbuster listing that one was. Stock was up about 60% in listing. Also saw institutional buying later on, with 361 Mutual Fund picking up to 5 lakh shares, while Sanjay Poparlal Jain bought 3 lakh shares worth 14 crores in a single deal. Finally, SIS Limited continues to increase its stake in Updater Services. SIS bought another 5.5 odd lakh shares worth 11 crores, taking its disclosed holding from 4.2% in early June to now 7.2% on a diluted basis by the end of July. So yes, institutional activity remains strong, significant buying seen in a lot of names, which could keep all of these stocks in focus today as well.
All right, so as Meryl was saying, these are the stocks that you need to watch out for today. Could see considerable activity. But on that note, it is a good buy from Meryl and me. The market is up next, so do stay with us on ET Now.